So we can start while we're waiting. I'm going to start with an overview, and you guys can't see it all. How do I make this work? Well, we're just going to have to go back and forth in here. All right. So I have an overview for each fund. I just had a thought. Able content. Kevin, there he is. Hey, could you go into my office and take one of those mouse? You'll have to take the little part plugs out of here. Just give me a wireless mouse, because this thing is not cooperating. Okay, I will start here. So at a 50,000 feet level, the general fund is expected to take in $21.6 million in revenue and only expend 19.6 in expenditures. That gives us I said 21.6, I hope. That gives us, from this year's activity, we should have a $2 million surplus. But what we always have to remember is during the year, we have to transfer funds from the general fund to cover expenditures in other areas. Thank you. Give me 1 second, people. This will speed us up drastically if this works. And of course, it's not going to work. Yes, not working from the map. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, all right, we're okay, we're in business. Okay, so from this year's activities, what we're going to bring in revenues and what we're going to expend in services in the general fund, we were actually going to bring in 2.4 million more. But remember, we're going to also have to take some of these funds to put them in other funds, and we'll get into more details of that as it comes along. So the net effect of the year, we're going to be hitting our fund balance for about $416,000. Now, even though that number's a negative number, which we've got to remember, at the end of 22, we had 5.5 million in fund balance. And 23 and 24 have been bangers. So we have significant fund balance in the general fund. And by going ahead and expending this money, there's two portions where I'll get to later. It's going to allow us to do things that will magnified expenditure, i.e. it's a matching part of a grant, or prevent us from taking on debt to acquire large capital assets. So even though that number shows negative for this year, we have a lot of built-up fund balance from the prior years. The garbage fund is pretty straightforward. It has been break-even for a long time now, but we are now starting to see increases in our fees that we have to pay to the Metropolitan garbage, place where we take everything to the dump. So we're going to have to visit that this year. I did not put any increase in here, but I would recommend that we examine that, because the expenses are getting to the point where it's not break even. The expenses are getting a little bit more than the revenues. And we're making up for it this year by bringing some money in from the general fund to bring it to zero. IMRF is the same thing. Every year we have to fund the IMRF account. IMRF, fund number 7, just follow along here. Fund number 7 picks up our IMRF pension payments, but it also picks up our Social Security, Medicare, and FUTA taxes off payroll. So we have to move money from the general fund to cover those payroll taxes, and we also have a line on our levy that brings in tax revenue that pays the IMRF portion. Motor fuel fund, I'm going to speed up because I'm going to talk about these in detail when we get there. You see, we're spending money that we've already collected, we have in the bank. We've got a couple street projects this year that we're going to pay for, and that's what the expenditure's for. CDBG, we got a grant. The grant portion was for $200,000. The whole project was $475,000. So the village has to come up with, to get that $200,000, we got to spend the $475,000. So we're going to be, that's part of the transfers that you see above in that $2.4 million. Emergency telephone system. This has been off of our budget for the last couple of years since the Ike 911 center opened. But there's been some money trapped in there because there's only certain things we can spend it on. Luckily, one of those things is radios. And when we get to capital, we're going to find out that we're going to get a lot of radios, and we're going to be able to actually use some of these funds. So they will be going towards one of the capital purchases. Roosevelt is its last year that it will be earning any increment. We are expecting a little bit more tax increment, but we have enough money in there to pay right now. If that increment does not come through, we have enough money in the balance right now to pay for all the expenditures that occur. 17th Avenue, it's pretty much done for. We're earning interest. The TIF itself has expired, and this should be off of our books by next year. 19th Street TIF, and for those of you that don't know, each TIF has its own separate fund, its own bank accounts, because all that money and all that activity have to be segregated by the way that TIF Act set all this stuff up. So these all have their own fund and their own related bank account. 19th Street is the, I'll call it the Chase Plaza thing over here. It's where the Chase Bank is in that strip mall. The developers agreement is they're getting the increment up into a certain dollar amount, so whatever we earn, we pay out. The little bit of difference that is in there goes to auditing fees. So what comes in and what goes out, it's almost equal. There's not a lot to see there. Roosevelt TIF, we're going to spend some money. I'll get to that more detail when we get to that TIF. Debt service fund, we're going to pay our debts, issue our rollover bond. It's pretty straightforward. Capital projects fund, which everybody wants to talk about, is going to have significant activity this year, and I'll just wait until we get there to go into that detail. And then I want to point out on the water sewer fund, because, and you can't see it here, but it's been negative for the last few years, and that's because we are very conservative here. We are budgeting $700,000 for emergency water main, sewers, improvements in the budget, but it only gets spent if they occur. And we've been lucky, not as, if you saw how much we were spending 10 years ago, because stuff was breaking all the time. We put the money in here to spend it if we have to, but we only spend it if we need to. So that's why that particular balance goes negative. All right, so after just that brief summary, I'm going to switch over to the actual budget handout that you guys are looking at. No, not that one. This one. See, I've programmed my computer to go really slow so I have time to rest and have a drink. Mr. Mills didn't bring what I wanted him to bring for me to drink.
Did say you put a new computer.
No, that's the one I tried to open right before the meeting and I opened the wrong one.
No, that's that little blue box over to the bottom right chair.
Um,
It's a little bit in there.
This one?
No, up on
No, that's, oh, here it is. Yeah, all we gotta do is start talking about something else and it'll open. Yeah, and we gotta make it where you can see it, and then we'll be good. Kevin, why is it not responding? Got any ideas?
That's on Adobe.
Yeah. PowerPoint.
Anything else on Adobe open?
Here we go. Okay. All right, so now let's get to the right PowerPoint. All right, and then close that.
Testing, 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 testing. It kind of sounds low, like talking. I feel like I gotta talk loud just to hear myself inside. So, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3. So they definitely have to talk loud in order to hear one another. If that makes any sense. Testing, and it's glitching on the projector. Testing, 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 1, 2, testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2, testing, testing. Today is April 25th. Yesterday was Ava Nicole's birthday. Happy birthday. Testing, 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 testing. You're calling? Hello? Yeah, no, but like the video I can hear, right?
It doesn't seem to be enlarging. Ah, slowly but sure.
Keep it running.
It'll go through some questions overall. So for this year, the village has decided that all of employees are going to match the union's last union contractual raise. So across the board, everyone's getting a 3.5% raise. Now, because like if a older fireman retires and a newer fireman replaces one thing.
Tested, tested. And you remember what I said I wanted to Please, tester.
No, I did. You could change it.
Okay, because I think it died. That's why. Battery's gonna die. Testing, testing. Yeah, sounds way better. Way, way better. Testing, testing. So batteries are changed. It's probably gonna